G'day, guys. Welcome back to Steelers Nation Australia. Today, I have a special guest, and my guest is Gage Madrid. What's going on, Gage? How are you, mate?
Doing good, man. How about you?
I'm pretty good. Now, I did call you up on the Voxer, and I was like, I got to talk to my good friend Gage. You're running over there. Running over there. You run a channel called Denver Broncos Syndicate, and also Sparking Over Broncos. So we have a Denver Broncos fan in the house, and we have to start off with this. Tim Tebow, why? Are you still happy about that?
I mean, it's a good memory. That's the only well, I mean, that whole 2011 season was a positive Tim
Yeah.
Tebow memory, but yeah, that I still hold that one fondly. But Tim Tebow was a terrible quarterback. I will always hold that true.
80-yard pass that beat us in the playoffs. One and done in overtime. See you later. Goodbye. Good night, Steelers. But the reason why I brought you on the show is of course, to catch up with you. But I want to get like an outsider's perspective on the Steelers and also like a bit of an insight to the Denver Broncos and what challenges you guys are facing and maybe how we can relate the both teams together. So first of all, let's start with the Denver Broncos. What is the biggest challenge you think they're facing this season with you guys? I know you guys have the 70 to 20 loss and stuff like that. But what's the biggest challenge the Denver Broncos are facing, and how can the Steelers relate?
Well, right now the Broncos really don't have a lot of players who know how to win. We've only got a select amount of players who've even won a playoff game, and we only have two players on the roster: Russell Wilson and our fullback Michael Burton, who have won a Super Bowl. So right now the Broncos are kind of a younger team, a little bit more of an inexperienced team that just has to learn how to win and not get in their own way and lose. Whereas the Steelers, we have those similarities where we're both historically winning franchises that maybe right now are going through a little bit of a downtime in our organizations. Denver's a little bit further along in that process, but it all starts with losing a Hall of Fame quarterback. We lost Peyton Manning, of course. You guys recently lost Big Ben. We had drafted Paxton Lynch in the first round the year after we lost Peyton Manning. That was a colossal failure. Kenny Pickett.
We had him too, by the way. Sorry,
that's
right.
right.
We had him as well. I think we had
that's
him
right.
on the Steelers.
Yep, I remember that. That was like the last NFL team he played for, I believe. So yeah, that's a name Steeler Nation should be quite familiar with. But obviously, with you guys and Kenny Pickett, there's been a lot of controversy in Steeler Nation regarding, is Kenny Pickett being set up to succeed because of the stubbornness with not moving on from their offensive coordinator, Matt Canada.
Yes.
And I feel like Denver has undergone that sort of philosophy, not necessarily with Paxton Lynch, but with Drew Lock, actually, who was a quarterback we drafted in the second round that we were definitely trying to build and develop. And year one with Drew Lock, we had Rich Scangarello as our offensive coordinator, who really ran a true Kyle Shanahan West Coast system. And then we moved on to Pat Shurmur the year after that, who completely changed the system. And it was clear that Drew Lock didn't necessarily fit in that system, that Pat Shurmur was an incompetent coordinator. So we kind of have a similar, it feels kind of a similar way right now with what's going on with the Steelers and Kenny Pickett and what happened with the Broncos and Drew Lock, because they weren't necessarily put in the position to succeed. They had the weapons, they had some talent around them, but coaching was ultimately the shortcoming there.
Yeah, and that's the big thing here too. So, like, I'm a big Mike Tomlin fan. I'll be until till he ends his career, and they're not going to move on from him. But one of the biggest things for Steeler Nation right now is the offensive coordinator. But they have really made a choice by not firing him in the bye. He's going to be our guy. But we have a really, really bad offense, and we're like 32nd. I don't know what you guys are. Are you guys like as bad as us in terms of offense?
Actually, our offense has been pretty decent, especially through like the first 4 weeks. They were ranked pretty highly. Last two, it hasn't been quite as good, but still, the big problem in Denver right now has been our defense, man. And I guess we can also relate a little bit because our defensive coordinator, Vance Joseph, used to be our head coach. The Broncos rehired him under Sean Payton to be our defensive coordinator. And it's kind of been the same thing, not putting players in the position to succeed. Broncos fans are calling for Vance Joseph's head left and right now. So it kind of feels like that is another parallel, obviously, with coordinators and not being happy with their performance and all that. Yeah.
We have the same thing. Like, they're not calling for Terrell Austin, said he's our DC, but they're giving, they always, Mike Tomlin is apparently, he's the bloke that that calls plays or sets them up. But even with he's a defensive coach minded guy. We have we spend the most money with our defense. We have been playing good, but at the same time they've been letting up a lot of plays like runs, big run plays. Secondary hasn't been the best with Patrick Peterson and Levi Wallace. And there's now like talk about, well, why aren't they starting Joey Porter Jr. and then they're not giving him time to be number one? So there's frustration there from the fan base of like, well, we should be the number one defense and we shouldn't allow, all these things to happen. But at the same time, I always say, like, a football game plays out, the other team wants to win too. And we versed the Texans, and I think CJ Stroud, he lit us up. That was a fantastic scheme to beat us. He really did, didn't he? If you haven't seen that match. And also Brock Purdy and the 49ers, and I know they got beat by the Browns, but they missed a lot of players. In week one, they tore us apart, right? So we come back to that frustration. But also, like, as an outsider's perspective, and where the Steelers are now, because we are 3-2, you guys are 1-5.
We're 1-5. 1-5. We beat the Bears, right? And we beat the Bears in week 4.
Yeah. What would it mean? I know you've got some positive things and maybe some negatives to say about this. What would it mean for you as a Broncos fan to be 3-2? Like, are we not spoiled, but are we like over dramatic in this assessment of our Steelers? And the fan base is like, well, this is terrible, this is crazy. Like, what are your thoughts on us being 3-2? Where, like, would you want to have that?
Absolutely, I would. I mean, we're 1-5 right now. The Broncos seem like they don't have an obvious direction that they're going in. Well, maybe they do. It could be in the direction of Caleb Williams. But with the Steelers, you guys have that foundation, a young quarterback who's shown a lot of promise. I mean, he maybe has had some down weeks this season, but he's shown a lot of promise in his starts last season and even the last couple of weeks this year. I feel like Kenny Pickett's really put a lot of stuff together, and the offense has cleaned some stuff up. And obviously your defense, be it some of the personnel issues you guys may have with Joey Porter Jr. in the secondary and Patrick Peterson and all that, you guys still have Hall of Famers, TJ Watt. Whenever Cam Hayward gets back, that's going to be just absolutely massive down the stretch. And Steelers have never had a losing season under Mike Tomlin. The Broncos have had 6-7 losing seasons in a row dating back to 2017. And our one winning season in the post-Peyton Manning era was a 9-7 season in 2016. And we still missed the playoffs. I mean, at the end of the day, you guys have been able to consistently churn out success, even though it maybe has taken some time to get there. So I urge patience for Steeler Nation, because Mike Tomlin has shown time in and time out that he will make it work. It may take some time to get the right recipe together for everything to come together, but Mike Tomlin has shown time in and time out that he will make it work. I would much rather be where the Steelers are right now, with a young quarterback and a young nucleus and a Hall of Fame head coach that isn't botching what their Hall of Fame resume is right now, because we have a Hall of Fame coach too, but he's botching his resume. True.
Yeah.
So again, like, I urge patience, Steeler Nation. It's going to take time, but trust Mike Tomlin.
Thank you. I got 2 more questions, and then we'll round it up because it's been fantastic. I'll have to get you on the show maybe in the future again. Just your football knowledge is such high IQ. High IQ. Now, my first question is, what do you think on the other side? What's the level of, like, is there a warranted frustration for Steeler Nation? You talk the positives there, but what's like the negatives where, yeah, we can see the frustration about we haven't won a playoff game since 2016, stuff like that. What do you think about that?
Sure. I mean, at the end of the day, it has gotten a little bit stale. You know, Steeler Nation is used to that sustained success of competing for championships, not just being in the playoffs. I mean, obviously you had those last few years with Big Ben, with some of the drama with Le'Veon Bell, Antonio Brown, and then Ben's sort of physical decline towards the end of his career. But now, you know, last year you guys had a rocky start to the year, but kind of rebounded towards the end there and ended up coming really close to making the playoffs. I could see a similar trajectory this year. I don't know what your record was entering this time last year, but I can see 2-6. Okay, well, there you go. So you're already on a better track. So it's like, yeah, I can understand the frustration because Matt Canada is actively holding back the Steelers offense.
Yes.
I can totally understand that. He has receivers running into each other. His play calling on 4th down is god awful. I mean,
and 3rd down too.
And third down, yeah. The shotgun runs on short yardage situations. Just get under center and hammer that ball downhill, man. It's not that complicated. Matt Canada feels like a 15-year-old playing Madden. He really does.
Yeah.
It's awful. So I can totally understand that frustration because the Steelers are an old school organization. They hire from within. They don't fire people very easily. They try to really develop those guys and hold up that culture of their homegrown guys. For better or for worse, that's just the old school way that the Roonies have always done it. And I understand that some in Steeler Nation are probably getting sick and tired of that.
Yes, they are. Yeah.
But it's also proven that it does work.
Exactly right. People are saying, mediocre mics, standard is substandard, all that kind of stuff. But at the same time, if you go through the process and every year we have a chance to win, we were one game away last year for the playoffs. If the Jets win that game with old man Joe Flacco, you had him for the Broncos, right? He was for the Ravens.
Oh, yeah.
If he wins that game with the Jets, then Kenny Pickett gets his first game in the playoffs. And I think, I know Steeler Nation getting very frustrated about this, but for me, I'm checked in all the time. I think 3-2 is pretty good. We're second behind the Ravens. The whole of the AFC North won the other day, which is crazy. The Browns, and also the Browns beat the 49ers, man. Football's football, right?
Mm-hmm. Anyone can win on any given Sunday.
Anything can happen. So, but my last question, and I'll let you go after this, and it's been awesome talking to you, Gage. From Denver Broncos Syndicate. If you guys want to check him out, Denver Broncos Syndicate or Sparkin. What's your other channel? I just forgot. What's your other channel?
Sparkin Sports Football. It's been rebranded 15 different times, but yeah, the final name for it, Sparkin Sports Football.
Well, I'll link both. But my final question I want to talk about is the Sean Payton and Mike Tomlin comparison. A lot of Fire Tomlin fans out there, Fire Tomlin, maybe not fans, Fire Tomlin guys, they can't stand him. They want to get rid of him. We know that. We've been hearing that for 5 years. I always hear the comparison that Sean Payton is a better coach. But what is happening this year, like you said, Sean Payton is almost, wrecking his Hall of Fame career or Hall of Fame chance to go there with what is the 1-5 Broncos. What's the comparison there with Mike Tomlin and Sean Payton?
I mean, they're both Hall of Fame coaches. Mike Tomlin outnumbered Sean Payton, I believe, in the Super Bowl category, right? He's got 2, right? Or does he just have 1?
One. He's 1-1.
Okay, so they both. So Sean's been, or Tomlin's been to 2. Sean's been to 1. So they're both have won 1 Super Bowl. So there's that parallel. As far as Sean Payton's concerned, he's coming into Denver and really trying to tear down a losing culture and bring in his guys and his way of doing things. And there just aren't enough Sean Payton guys on this roster right now. Mm-hmm. He knows that he's going to probably have to bring this team down to the bottom in order to rise back up to the top. Whereas with the Steelers, you guys have that solidified foundation, So there are parallels, but there are different situations with where the teams are right now, for sure.
So with Sean Payton, you guys, maybe what do you guys call yourself? Broncos country, right? Broncos country. I like how you guys are different to everyone else. We call ourselves Steeler Nation, but I feel like everyone's nation.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And maybe that's
Broncos country.
Yeah, maybe that's why you guys did that. But what is Broncos country feeling about Sean Payton? Are they giving up on the head coach, or is it a process for the next 3 or 4 years kind of thing?
I feel like you're either in one category or the other. You're in the category of give up on Sean Payton, or you're in the category of we're going to have to sit through a pretty painful rebuild, but the results at the end will be worth it. I'm trying to exercise the patience, obviously, but I can totally see the side of the fan base that is ready to just get this over with and start winning football games now. But Rome wasn't built in a day, and this team has had a rotten, festering culture for a long time, and Sean Payton's trying to eliminate all of that festering disease in the locker room, and it's going to take time. It's like going in there and hazmating a biohazard situation.
Yeah. I feel like from my perspective on the outsider's view, for me, that I thought that the Denver Broncos would be kind of maybe saved, or quote unquote, it was Russell Wilson. It's going to be a crazy team. You're going to win Super Bowls. That's what I thought. That's maybe, I was like, oh my goodness, it's going to happen. Then we didn't see that. Then for my side with the Steelers, it's like, well, now we have Mike Tomlin has his team with Kenny Pickett, and we see the same thing. That's what I kind of think fans kind of see. Would you agree with that, an assessment that Russell Wilson was meant to be the guy to save everything, and maybe hasn't turned it that way? But it's not just on Wilson, it's on the whole team.
Yep, absolutely. Russell Wilson was brought in here to be the savior, but this team was more than a Russell Wilson away from being competitive, and a lot of fans didn't want to accept that. Just
That's what I thought. I was like
the
you've
Steelers.
Yeah.
Yep. But the Steelers are also more than just a Kenny Pickett away from being competitive. They need to retool some of the things that they're doing, especially with coaching and some of their older players. It's time to start maybe restocking the cupboard a little bit. Offensive line has had some issues in the past, obviously some of their defensive issues. So it's time to start maybe rethinking that the way that the Steelers are approaching doing things. And it feels like the Broncos are trying to bring in a completely different approach to doing things. And so far, it's working pretty well.
All righty, Gage, mate. So thanks, mate, for coming on the show. It's been fantastic. I just want to say, though, you're doing such a good job on Denver Broncos Syndicate. And you know what? You're a massive fan. I'm a massive fan. What is like one final thing you want to say to Denver Broncos fans or even Steeler fans in this point of the season? Like, is it too early to give up? Like, what's going on?
I mean, in Denver, it's kind of more so not necessarily giving up, it's just looking to the future. But for the Steelers, man, again, you're 3-2. You've got a winning record right now. You guys have a chance, man. I mean, just exercise patience. You guys will somehow find a way to have a winning record. It always will happen. The Steelers will never have a losing record under Mike Tomlin. So just have some patience, Steeler Nation. Odds are good you'll make the playoffs.
Yeah, I always go back to as well. Like we've got TJ Watt, and TJ Watt is a fantastic. He's a fantastic player. He's having one of the best years that I think we've seen in a long time. And like I said, I don't wait 9 months and then go into we suck mode, we're terrible, and it's always it's easy to be negative. And I think on YouTube it's really easy to be negative. And the positive sign is we are 3-2. And I actually hope you guys turn it around too. I'm sick of seeing Mahomes and Kelsey, and now you must get a lot of news around Taylor Swift and all that kind of stuff, right? You must
yes. Taylor was at the Broncos Chiefs game on Thursday. It was bad.
Yeah, we won't go into that. I knew that was going to get a good reaction. So, and I know you've got Mahomes is in the AFC way, but the Mahomes right now and the Chiefs, and I know you guys haven't beat them in 8 years, and it's crazy. So he's in your way. It must be very frustrating. It feels like a Brady to us, right? Or feels like he's just in the middle, right? And they're a good side, so that's crazy. And also too, even as a fan, I've been watching Brandon Perna and what he's going through, so I know what you're going through with your Denver too. The new worst game ever. That dude's hilarious, and I can feel his pain, his actual pain, watching his team. And how do you lose that Hail Mary and then the 2-point and just it's tough. It's tough being Steelers fans right now. Tough. Last 3 years, every game comes down to the last second, last minute. And then I see what you guys are going through too. So yeah, man, it's been crazy. Thanks, Gage, mate, for coming on the show. It's been fantastic. I'll link everything in the description below. Good talk about Steelers, Denver. And I do wish you luck, man. I hope that you guys can get things sorted. And I actually picked you guys to win the division this year. I thought you were going to bounce back. But Wiggins, we'll see. You need the Chiefs to fall, right? Chargers and Raiders aren't doing much. If the Chiefs fall, it's not going to happen. But if they do, you got a chance. Do you see at any point, one last question, do you see a point of the playoffs at all? Or are we just thinking about winning the next game?
We're just thinking about winning the next game. Playoffs!
Playoffs! Playoffs! I'm trying to win a game.
We're just trying to win a game.
Yeah. All right, Gage, mate. Thank you for coming on the show. And thank you, Steeler Nation, as always. Here we go, Steelers. Here we go.